Oh, yes. Thank you for that beautiful, kind of jazzy rendition of one of my favorite songs. And if you haven't heard it yet, look it up. It will sure to be a new favorite anthem, right? The rest is still unwritten. Today is where your book begins. So today is a blank slate, a blank page, a new start. And it's filled with pure potential. And you get to decide the story you're going to write and the book that is unfolding as your life. Yes? So powerful. This month, we are going back to basics as we look at the first 4 sections in the Science of Mind textbook. And I pretty much just brought the first 4 sections because my book is so worn and torn, it fell apart this morning. But this is the part I needed to reference. So I happen to know a bookstore maybe where I can get another one. So we're looking at the first 4 sections, which is the thing itself. The thing itself. So Ernest Holmes uses the word it with a capital T to refer to spirit, life, first cause, universe, the one. So the thing itself, all there is this life source, this energy, this cosmic isness. And this energy is the very life of all things, all beings, including us, including the very beautiful aspects of nature, the birds, the trees, our beloved pets. Everything is an expression of this one life. So the thing itself. So we looked the first week, excuse me, y'all. Let me have a little water. At the thing itself, and then what it does is work through us. We are an expression of that. And we talk about this aspect of what Holmes called this aspect of God as the law. The law always says yes. The law is this universal principle that responds to us according to our thoughts and beliefs and intentions, those things that we are regularly pressing upon this substance that the law then says yes and moves into form. So the thing itself, the way it works is through us. What it does is say yes. It simply responds to our word. And so today we are looking at how it works. So, there's a few kind of shorthands for summarizing these things. And one of them is how it works is for us. So we can explore this idea a little bit about how the universe is this field of pure potentiality. Therefore, there is no true lack or limitation in the ultimate source of life itself, in God. Yet we as humans often experience suffering and fear, doubt, various expressions of lack, and it doesn't mean that we are anything unworthy or unholy or unlike the divine. It simply means that our human nature, we have forgotten the true essence of who we are. So it works for us by working through us to the degree that we consciously use and apply these spiritual laws. And as I said earlier this month, ignorance of the law does not get you off. You're still going to get a ticket if you're like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't run a red light. You're still going to get a ticket. But the good news is, once you become aware of this thing called life and how it works and how things get to be the way they are in our life and in our collective experience of the world, we can begin to consciously use this thing called life and consciously practice practice through the many tools we talk about here and what we teach about here, our spiritual practices of meditation and contemplation. This allows us to remember who we are. That beautiful music, those songs, those chants, those moments of being still and remembering. We can use the practices of affirmations, visualizations, intentions, speaking our word through affirmative prayer and spiritual mind treatment, which then the law is always responding to us. So the more we start to consciously use this by allowing Spirit to use us as that conduit for good, life begins to unfold in a way that some may call miraculous. We start to see things occurring in our life by shifting our perspective through the consistent practice of affirmations and prayer and meditation, where one thing that somebody used to say that would immediately trigger us or put us in that point of, now, through the conscious practice of our practices, we become less reactive and more able to respond. Taking responsibility for our life and focusing on that which we desire and that which we know to be the ultimate truth of life, which is love and peace and harmony, freedom, joy. One of the quotes from Holmes that is most used and kind of sums up this idea is change your thinking, change your life. And I would expand on it a little bit, as Holmes does through his teachings, that it's not just a thought, but it's what we are embodying and what we are practicing, where we are putting our energy and our attention as the regular use of our consciousness or our awareness, right? What are the thoughts that we are choosing over and over? And here is where we have the power, because we are always at choice. And so when we look upon things in our lives and the world that are not that which we would desire, that are showing up of circumstances and evidence of anything but harmony and peace and love, that can point us back to the opportunity we have to remember the truth and to be that vibration of love and peace, and to hold that intention and visualize that which we desire for our lives and the world. So when you think about this kind of basic teaching, it can sometimes feel like a little bit of a cognitive dissonance when you turn on the news and see what's happening in our world, when there are wars and genocide, and there are so many things that are not in alignment with the freedom of all. And Holmes said, freedom is our birthright. So the skill that we are honing here is to stand in the awareness and the presence of these circumstances in our lives or in the world, to observe them but not get absorbed. Because if we get absorbed into the energy, we become that energy. And that's what resonates and magnifies and multiplies. And yet, especially those of us that have that heart for justice can look at that and say, yes, but how can you not, right? Like, this isn't right. We must practice letting go of all judgments of what is right, of feeling righteous, and instead be the peace, be the harmony. And then ask, how can I be of service today? I know for me, that's what helps me shift the most. When I'm feeling stuck in the problems and the circumstances of the world, to turn within, remember the truth, and then do something. One small action. I can't change a policy by myself. I can't end a war, but I can, one can at a time, bring in a can to donate in our food pantry that feeds someone near or close to our community that doesn't have access to food at this time. That one simple action doesn't get me off the hook or anything, but it lets me move my energy in a productive way. Being in consistent practice with standing as and for peace and freedom is how we then open ourselves to what we call here sacred activism. Taking action from our heart. Perhaps it's being led to call an old friend or family member we haven't touched base with in a while, finding that moment of connection, reaching out to each other, checking in, how are you? I've been thinking about you. There are infinite possibilities of ways that we can be of service. And yet, the kind of status quo default may have us want to connect and bond over the trauma and the chaos and the conflict and come together and did you hear what so-and-so did and this is happening and that's horrible. Observe, but don't be absorbed. You may have those conversations and then say, yes. And so I prayed today to know that every child has a right to be with their family and those that they love and to be cared for and supported by, that every being has a right to have food and shelter. And I know that this vision is unfolding perfectly. And the only way things are going to change is by each of us being open to what is ours to do and creating that tipping point, right? The prayers, the meditation, the action that we can take as a community to support each other. We have to move beyond the default thinking of fear and scarcity that limit our vision and keep us stuck in this box. And remember that we live in an abundant universe. So when you find yourself in those moments, awareness is key. What can you do to shift? To shift your vibration, put on a song, a chant, to prayer, to call someone, to read something, and not to self-soothe, right? Not to just this feels bad, I don't want to be there. I'm going to go jump and be happy, right? To shift with the intention to raise the vibration so that we exist in a world where the majority of the collective consciousness is holding that vibration so that what we're seeing outpictured shows that, right? Right now, what we're seeing is an outpicturing of the majority of humanity that is still on the edge of this shift of consciousness that thinks that we have to get what's ours, right? The separation, that we are not one being and that what's good for me is all that matters, right? That is one stage of consciousness that we are seeing outpictured right now, and especially in our leadership, but our leadership is just a demonstration of those folks who use their voice to vote for that way, to show that that is the state of mind or the state of consciousness that people are experiencing right now. Separation and lack and fear. The only way to shift that is through raising the energy and vibration, showing a new possibility, showing a new way, proving it first in our own life, being a walking demonstration of the spiritual principle, such that people say, wow, right? I want what she's having. And then the more of us can be of service to the world and raise the collective consciousness. Holmes says in this chapter here how to use it. The time will come when we let our conversation be in heaven. And again, heaven is a state of mind, right? Not some place in the sky where we go when we die. And heaven is the description of the consciousness where all are one, where we see and know the beauty and the wholeness and the freedom and the love, right? So he says the time will come when we let our conversation be in heaven and refuse to talk about, read, or think about those things that ought not to be. But someone will say, should we refuse to look at sickness, poverty, and unhappiness? This is not what we are discussing. We will not refuse to help the helpless or lift up the fallen, but we will refuse to wallow in the mud because of our sympathies. And then he quotes here from Matthew 15:14, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. So you get the distinction there, right? We can be compassionate, but we don't want to sympathize to where we are bringing our energy and wallowing in the mud. Those of us who work in any kind of profession, a service profession, counseling, those kind of things, you understand this, right? You probably often have been in that moment where you're sitting with someone, and especially those that are more empathetic, and you can really feel their energy and feel their sorrow and their hurt and their pain. So how can you connect with that and yet rise above it? Through compassion, not sympathy, not, oh, poor you, I know, how could this happen? We don't want to embolden victimization. We want to honor, yeah, I hear you, that's hard, and no love, right? How can I love you? What do you need? What support do you need? And at the same time, in our own hearts and minds, see the truth of the individual before us as the beloved, as that infinite seed of potential, just like the acorn has the potential to become the giant oak. In whatever stage of life it is in, what would it be like to look at the fledgling sapling struggling in the winter freeze and say, you have the potential to be that great oak tree? We can do that for one another. When we are struggling, when we are feeling beat down by the conditions of the world or our life, that may have very real impacts around our freedom, we can know that within us is that potential, and that no thing outside of ourselves has the power over us. And that this too, God is in, as, and through. This too is an opportunity to grow as a collective so that we begin to demonstrate and see reflected in our structures and systems and society those things that match the truth of the thing itself, the values of joy and love and wholeness and peace. Global transformation through personal evolution. We come together, we do this work within ourselves, and we get to share the benefits with others. So this week I invite you to observe without being absorbed, to notice what you are paying attention to, where your energy is at, and to practice with consistency to prove the spiritual principles, to prove the law by shifting your awareness to that which you desire. So when something in the news or the media or the story you hear has you start to feel, do not wallow in the mud, but remember the truth. Pick yourself up. Allow the love and the Spirit of God itself to move through your heart and to be a blessing upon yourself and all you encounter. Yes? We will hold this vision together, so let's pray about it. Taking that conscious breath now. To recognize the one life that is pure potentiality. This one life, this infinite field of possibilities that is love, that is peace, that is wholeness, that is freedom. This one life that is living and moving and having its being right here, right now, in, as, and through all. So I know that I am one with freedom, with wholeness, with love, with harmony. I am whole. Love is expressing itself in, as, and through me as I open my heart and allow it to be. And as I know this to be true for myself, I know this must absolutely be true for each and every person hearing the sound of my voice right now, for we are one. The thing itself is expressing as each and every one of us, getting to know itself more fully through the diverse expressions of life. So I'm so grateful to remember this truth and to know that the strength and the power within me to lead and to guide and to allow my heart to lead the way is always there. How good it is to know that I am always at choice. So this day, I choose heaven. I choose to allow my thoughts and my awareness and my conversations to be in and of and about heaven, wholeness, peace, joy. To allow that vibration of the one life itself in its eternal essence to fill my entire being and to radiate out and impact all those which I come in contact with, all those in my sphere of influence. I choose to be that beacon of light for myself and others, to remain steadfast on the vision of a world that works for all, and to always ask Spirit, what is mine to do? What is mine to do today? To pray? What is mine to do today? To say, to be, and to allow love to be known in, as, and through me. So grateful to know that love is the healer, that there's nothing I need to do or fix or figure out, but simply allow the love of who I am to be expressed. So with great gratitude for the fulfillment of this prayer, I release it into the law, and the law always says what? Yes, it always says what? Yes, it says, yes, my beloved, it is done. It is happening now. A healing is happening now. I claim it, I declare it, and I know it to be so. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is.